Imagine taking a group of 10 people who've never met and challenging them to sit down in a room to consider, to discuss, and then to agree unanimously on the meaning of life. To answer questions like, why are we here? How did the world get the way it is? What will the world look like in the future? I think it's fair to say that any group challenged with a task like that would have its work cut out for them. No doubt there would be differences of opinion, different perspectives, contradictions would emerge, but particularly if those 10 people had never met before, if they were from different backgrounds, different countries, if they were different ages. And yet the Bible tackles questions just like that. And the writers who contributed to the work were often very different. Actually, the challenge was greater, for open the pages of a Bible and you'll find the work of almost 40 different individuals who were contributed to the task. And many of them never met, so they never had a chance to discuss to see if they agreed. They didn't meet because they lived in different places, 3 different continents, almost 2,000 years apart in some cases. They were from a whole different load of backgrounds: kings, prophets, doctors, civil servants, slaves, shepherds, fishermen, musicians. Yet the remarkable thing is that whilst they wrote at different times, in different places, faced different challenges, what they wrote is entirely consistent and has stood the test of time. The Bible in its current form has existed for around 1,500 years, and whilst it's been translated into 700 languages, the message is the same message. Of course, the Bible explains how such a thing was possible, because whilst there are 40 or so collaborators, in fact there is only one author, God himself. God inspired individuals to contribute to this work, books of history, poetry, prophecy, letters which will be written to different churches. And because God is timeless, because he does not change or lie, the message he inspired is utterly consistent. And the Bible puts that before us in many different places. In 700 BC, the prophet Isaiah wrote it. Have you not known? Have you not heard? The Lord is the everlasting God, the creator of the ends of the earth. He does not faint or grow weary. His understanding is unsearchable. Well, if Isaiah wrote it, a few hundred years previously, Samuel had said it. God will not lie or change his mind, for he is not a man that he should change his mind. And the Apostle Paul, 1,000 years later, would repeat the same idea. Paul, a servant of God and an apostle of Jesus Christ, in the hope of eternal life, which God, who never lies, promised before the ages began. And so time and again we go to different places in different times and we find the same truths put before us. Of course, you might expect that a book that has been around for 1,500 years in its current form, parts of which have been written for over 3,000 years, would need to be updated from time to time to account for discoveries in science, for example. Yet that's not the case. The Bible has proven to be remarkably future-proof. To take just one example, the shape of planet Earth. It was Pythagoras, an ancient Greek, who floated the idea that the Earth was round in 500 BC. Another ancient Greek, Aristotle, would confirm this in writing 200 years later. He would write, "Our observations of the stars make it evident not only that the Earth is circular, but also that it is a circle of no great size." And yet, whilst Aristotle wrote it, in fact, 400 years earlier, Isaiah had written it too. It is God who sits about the circle of the earth, Isaiah wrote, and its inhabitants are like grasshoppers. And if Isaiah had wrote it 200 years before Pythagoras floated the idea, well, one of the earliest books of the Bible, the book of Job, contains a similar idea. There we read, God has inscribed a circle on the face of the waters at the boundary between light and darkness. And that boundary is only circular if the planet on which that shadow is cast is circular too. Of course, the Bible isn't just consistent when you look backwards in time to try and test theories. The same happens when you start at the beginning and work forward in time. Within the first chapters of Genesis, the first book in the Bible, the Old Testament starts to deliver promises that God would send his Son to resolve the problems that the earth faced. And the details of those promises were far from predictable. This son would be born to a virgin. The son would be born in a place called Bethlehem, very specific. He would work miracles. He would be able to heal people who had no hope of cure. He would draw crowds of excited people. And yet, despite this, he would be despised and rejected. He would die on a tree. His side would be pierced. He would suffer a death reserved for criminals. And all of those things, unpredictable though they were, happened. And they are recorded for us in the gospel records. And that's why we can be confident that what the Bible tells us concerning our future can also be trusted, for all that the Bible has said about things that already have happened. So looking to the future then, the Bible predicts in the Old Testament that Jesus will return to the earth a second time. The Bible predicts that one day Jesus will rule from the city of Jerusalem, that he will be King of Kings, that the people will go to listen to him, that war will be a thing of the past. And the wonder is that we can rely upon this information because the Bible has been proven to be trustworthy. For thousands of years, what the Bible has said will happen has happened. God is trustworthy, for he is eternal. He does not lie. His promises are reliable. Now just think about that for a moment. What if someone utterly reliable, someone who could do anything, who has done everything, was offering to be in your corner? If he had all the solutions to all of the problems that you face, to all of the problems that the world faces? And what if the message was, he is waiting for you to get involved, to discover more? How would you respond to such a thing? How could you respond to such a thing? Well, that's the perfect reason to open a Bible and start learning more about the God who has written it, that we might understand it, come to understand something of him, and realize how reliable he truly is.